Hello again. All right. This time I want to drop a quick video on education reform. There's a lot of things that are there's a lot of improvements that can be done in the education system. Across the U.S., we got all different kinds of issues in our education system. You have schools that can't afford books, that are still using the books from the 1990s. Um, some maybe even using them from the 1980s. I remember when I was in elementary school, I had the exact same book that my aunt had 14 years earlier, and I know that school and some of those schools have fallen under more financial burden since then. There have been schools that have been shut down across the U.S., for lack of funding and other reasons that I won't get into too much in this video. Um, and it amazes me because you have schools that are struggling, to have books, to be able to pay teachers reasonable wages. And then you have other schools that are handing out, iPads and laptops and stuff like that, So there's something wrong there, And another thing that I've noticed, even while I was in school, is that very valuable time was taken away from our learning to focus on preparation for. Back then they called it like the FCAT, but there are state exams like that, across various states and stuff like that. But it took time that we needed to learn uh, the material that should have been taught. Um, on so instead of learning what we should have been taught, we were learning what we needed to know to pass those tests. In order to make those schools look good and everything. And there's a lot of programs that have been removed from the schools that should still be in the schools. There are a lot of programs that have not been in the schools. They need to be in the schools. There are topics that need to be taught that are not being taught. And there are topics that are being taught that, just in my opinion, are somewhat irrelevant to modern times. From what I've heard, they've already stopped teaching kids how to write in cursive. You still need to know how to sign your signature on paperwork and stuff, but I guess that's going to be irrelevant by the time many of these kids grow up anyway. But there are things that I believe should be taught in schools. Accurate history being one of them. Culture, or various cultures and heritage, is something else that should be taught in schools, I believe. Various languages. I think that, are, with America being such a melting pot of people, various ethnicities, you know, um, races, ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, religious backgrounds. There's so many different languages, that are spoken here in the U.S., and we only focus, primarily on English. It's to the point where employers are seeking bilingual individuals. And obviously that's something that, helps with acquiring employment. So it should definitely be something that is mandatory in schools, not just an option. I know that, you can get certain languages as an elective, but I personally believe that upon graduating high school, our children should be fluent in reading, writing, and speaking at least three languages, maybe four or more if they're able to. Excuse me. I also believe that everyone should be fluent in sign language. Just because there are individuals out here who may be hearing impaired or sight impaired, um, they shouldn't be, excluded, from communication with everyone else. There also should be more programs focused toward children with special needs, autism, learning disabilities, so on and so forth. So I think that we really need to, and I mean, I have more ideas, for education, but, I think we really need to take a look at how our system is now, the direction that our country is going, and really start molding our education system to benefit our children, and their futures. Another thing that I'm really big on is, I know that in the past, I want to say it kind of faded when I was a youth. There were schools that had, that taught trade skills. You can go there, you can be in high school and learn how to be a mechanic, come out of high school, certified mechanic, or maybe a certified plumber or a certified carpenter, I mean, there were just various trade skills that were taught in schools. And also, there are high school courses that are taught in college. You're basically redoing these courses. You're paying for courses that you've done in high school, So, it's my personal belief that college and trade, trade craft should be taught in high school, or at least continued on through high school. It shouldn't come at a cost to the students. I know that, for the most part, it's a business, but it's also a requirement nowadays in life to pretty much get ahead. Well, that's the belief. The belief is, go to college, get your degree, get an outstanding career, make a decent life for yourself. The reality of it is, students have been going to college, getting their degree, ending up tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and busting their behinds for years and years and years to pay off debts when they should have been contributing their money toward better lifestyles, staying out of poverty, getting out of poverty, building a comfortable life, and family, and so on and so forth, living the American dream. So by integrating trade, putting the trade skill, or teaching trade skills in high school again, and certifying them straight out of high school to go into the workforce, at no cost, because it's a part of their education and stuff like that. That's going to keep a lot of our youth out of debt, that they may not be able to pay off, for years and years and years. Same thing, being able to, acquire your bachelor's or even your master's, either while attending high school. It would be prolonged, but you could acquire your degrees while you're in high school, or continue on after high school, maybe in something like a 13th, 14th, 15th grade or something like that. And you get your college education as general education. You know what you need to know, and then you can go out there and you're not tens of thousands of dollars in debt. So that's something else that I'm interested in. It would give our youth a really good head start in life. They'd have exactly what they need to go into the workforce, the proper skills, the certifications, on the job training, internships, stuff like that, right out of high school. And then, boom, they have a reasonably good resume. Another thing that could be taught in schools is like learning how to do stocks, how to be in the mortgage business, how to start their own businesses. That's another thing that is going to be, I'm going to touch on that in another topic, because it relates to another topic. But how to start your own businesses, how to run your own businesses, or how to work between businesses, so to speak. So, I mean, there's some stuff that I'd love to touch on, but some of that stuff is going to be in other videos. But proper education without putting our children in debt, keeping them in debt, or those debts contributing to other struggles in life, I say we give our children, a much better chance. So education reform, all the way from, daycare up until, them getting their certificates in training in a certain trade craft or their degree, in a certain field. I think, we definitely need to take a better look at that, and redo that system to make it better for our children and to have it better, have it more geared in the direction that this country is actually going in. So education reform is something that, I'll touch on. I'll get more in depth in it in a later video. But I just wanted to kind of put that idea out there to let you guys know, what's on my mind and some of the changes that I would like to make to this country, to better this country in the long run and even in the short run. So again, this video will be posted on YouTube and some of my social media outlets, so feel free to comment down in the comment section, if you have any comments, ideas, concerns, questions, as best as I can. I mean, I'm hoping that this goes viral and, that, a whole bunch of people see it. If it does, then I obviously won't be able to get to everyone's questions, but as much as possible, I will try to address those questions, concerns, comments, and so forth. Thank you for your time, and you have a good day.